I'm Stephen Foskett from Gestalt IT, and we are here at Flash Memory Summit in Santa Clara. I am connecting with some of the organizations that are doing some pretty cool stuff in the industry, and one of those organizations, of course, is our friends from SNIA. Now, you probably know them from, well, basically everything we do in the storage space, but I wanted to connect with Richelle to talk about Swordfish, which maybe you don't know about, so thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Stephen.
So, not everybody's familiar with Swordfish. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what it is?
Sure. SNIA Swordfish is an extension to the DMTF Redfish standard. And DMTF Redfish is manageability for servers and fabrics. And so Swordfish is the extension to manage storage and storage fabrics. So instead of coming up with a whole new standard for manageability for storage, we simply extended the Redfish standard to cover storage. So leveraging protocols, and it's a seamless extension.
So when we talk about management of storage, what exactly are we talking about? Are we talking about provisioning? Are we talking about monitoring performance? Are we talking about raising alerts? Which of these things does Swordfish do?
It does all of those.
Amazing.
So, absolutely. So we can cover configuration, monitoring, management, event notification, pretty much anything you want to do. So we've had some folks join recently that were really interested in telemetry and really detailed configuration, really detailed monitoring and configuration of NVMe devices. So we include that. And in fact, Swordfish is the only way to do standards-based management of NVMe and NVMe over Fabrics devices at scale. So you have NVMe and NVMe MI for managing inbox for those devices, but you have to have Swordfish for standards-based management of those devices.
So, yeah, I think that's one of those things that people may not realize is that, well, honestly, in my opinion, instrumentation and management of storage is one area that is really inconsistent across vendors, and it's one of those areas that isn't even possible in some solutions. And that's one of the things that I like about a cross-platform standard like Redfish or Swordfish, because essentially no matter what system you're using, theoretically, you could manage it. Is that the vision?
It is. So we have a lot of systems vendors out there today that have built in Redfish to their systems, and Swordfish is the logical extension for that. So what we're seeing is those vendors that have had Redfish built into their systems now starting to work on adding Swordfish, and now you have that across platforms, now the ability to add Swordfish for managing the storage elements of the system as well.
But of course it's challenging because you need to have the vendors support it. So I'm going to be here saying if you don't support this, you're missing out. I mean, you really ought to support cross-platform management. And as we've seen with Redfish, it's really valuable to have this kind of support. I mean, people use that. Swordfish too, right? I mean,
absolutely. And it really is. So that's one of the things that we're here showing right now is I'm behind me here at the show. One of the things I'm demonstrating is we've just built and are getting ready to release into the wild an open source implementation that runs on Linux, a Swordfish service that manages NVMe SSDs. We'll be pushing this out into various Linux distributions. So if your Redfish service or your BMC implementation on your system doesn't already manage your NVMe SSDs, you can simply install this open source Swordfish service, and voila, you now have a Swordfish service and the manageability for your NVMe SSDs. It's just one way to start getting that Swordfish interface and manageability for your NVMe devices.
So you mentioned that Redfish might already have some storage services in it. What does Redfish have that Swordfish, well, I guess what does Swordfish have that Redfish doesn't have?
So Swordfish is an extension. So Redfish will give you your basic server instrumentation. And what you get when you start going to Swordfish is the advanced manageability of the storage devices. So you'll get your basic instrumentation of your servers and a little bit of manageability of the storage ecosystem. But when you go to the Swordfish instrumentation, you get basically the comprehensive view of the storage devices. And it's not that they're two separate things. So an implementation and a service can actually have both in them. So as a server can instrument both Redfish and Swordfish instrumentation all in one fell swoop. It's not that they're two separate things necessarily.
And what's the scope of Swordfish? So you've talked about NVMe a lot, but
yes.
This isn't just for NVMe, right?
No, it's absolutely not. It's for traditional storage as well, and for file systems, for object block, all comprehensive solutions as well. So we'll see this for traditional storage. It's just very, very valuable for NVMe and NVMe over Fabrics.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it would be valuable for those, especially because, in my opinion, those are actually poorly instrumented normally, because in many cases NVMe is considered to be just part of the server, even though it's actually a whole storage domain. There's a lot of storage management that should go on there, but I think people think of it as just sort of a component. Is that right?
Yes. So we see with NVMe and NVMe over Fabrics, there's a lot of different deployment options, right? So you could see PCIe attached, just attached to your systems, but there's also NVMe and NVMe over Fabrics. When we start to see NVMe over TCP, those are starting to be separate. Mm-hmm. And so when you start to separate those from a direct attached configuration, your manageability starts to separate as well. And so that becomes a lot more difficult to say, where is the management located? And so that's when you start to say, okay, where is the management component? I can't really co-locate that nearly as easily with the system.
So where does this go next? I know that you've been working on, SNIA has been working on Swordfish for a while. I know that you've been involved in the development of it from the very beginning, right? Where has Swordfish come from? Where is it now, and where is it going next?
We're really in, we're fairly complete in the development of the standard, and in the, we're working on just developing the ecosystem and developing tools to help vendors work on their implementations, as well as developing tools to help clients tell vendors what it is that they need. So how do they write RFQs to specify to the vendors what it is that they need to build. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where we are right now. We also have a complete conformance test program. So this helps vendors develop and certify with the Swordfish conformance test program that they have a vendor neutral validated environment of their Swordfish implementation. So clients and vendors alike can use that program to say, yes, this is what, they could say, this is the requirements we need on the client side, and the vendors can say, yes, we meet those requirements. So these programs are in place for and being built up, and we're basically providing all the tools that folks need in order to
deploy management, right?
Yes.
So we are at Flash Memory Summit, as I mentioned, and you were on stage yesterday. You got a Best in Show award, right?
We did. SNIA won the FMS Best in Show in the industry standards category. We're very excited about this. We think that this is a great acknowledgement of the effort that SNIA has put in around Swordfish, and also a great acknowledgement of that Swordfish is just a very critical piece of the ecosystem for standards-based management.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that hopefully having SNIA Swordfish out there in front of the entire industry at FMS, as well as just every single day in front of the entire industry, hopefully this will encourage people to adopt the standard, to manage their storage better, and to get better outcomes from their storage infrastructure. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, yeah, I wish that I could have better instrumentation, better metrics, better management, Put this in your RFPs, ask your vendors to support it. It's always best to have standards, and that's exactly what SNIA is trying to do here.
Yeah.
So where can people learn more about Swordfish and maybe even get access to the Linux implementation you mentioned?
Thank you. If you remember nothing else, you can go to snia.org/swordfish. You will find pointers to absolutely everything there. It's not a reference implementation. The service we're working on is working its way through the Intel open source process right now, and will be available shortly. And we will have pointers to that as well once we from the snia.org/swordfish site once that's available. We will also send some notifications out through the SNIA Matters. So if you're not registered for notifications through SNIA Matters, please go to SNIA's website and register to receive notifications from SNIA Matters.
Yep. And we will also be covering that on Gestalt IT when that gets announced. We'll put that in our newsletter and in our rundown. We will be seeing SNIA much more as part of Storage Field Day. So we're going to be at the SNIA Storage Developer Conference along with Storage Field Day, and I think that we're going to see you and everything there too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We will have a storage management track on Monday, September 18th, which is the first day of SDC. SDC runs September 18th through 21st.
Yep, and if you would like to join us at Storage Developer Conference, it's not too late. You can still get in. We would love to see you there. Just go to storagedeveloper.org and register and come to Fremont and join us there in September. We would love to see you at Storage Developer. We'll be doing some exciting Storage Field Day related stuff there too. And like I said, you can learn more about SNIA and all the wonderful projects that they are supporting. Well, thanks so much for being part of this. Thanks for joining us today here on Gestalt IT. For more videos like this, go to YouTube and go to the Gestalt IT video channel, or just go to gestaltit.com.